Hello on Periscope, and hello on YouTube. Welcome to the August 2015 edition of Ask aois21 on the 21st. I'm Keith F. Shovlin, publisher and chief creative of aois21 Publishing, and I'm here to answer your questions about writing, publishing, marketing, editing, pretty much any questions you have about the making of a book. So feel free to send your questions along. We're here on Periscope, here on YouTube. Go ahead and send questions in the group chat. You can tweet to us at aois21. You see spelled here, aois21. Tweet to us with the hashtag AskAois21, and I'll get those messages. And send your questions along. This is like I said, the August 2015, so it's August 21st, 2015. August is already coming towards the close, and we're getting into the end of summer and the start of fall. School years are starting up. Kids going back to school. Colleges are getting ready to start planning all of their activities. Well, they're already planning their activities for the school year. So things to consider. Now's the time to be on the lookout for any type of events you can do in schools and anything like that. So just a quick check as we get started here. All right. For some reason, it's showing that we posted on Twitter that we are now streaming in Spanish. Well, I'm sorry, but I don't speak Spanish. I can know a couple phrases, but I don't know why they're listing us as broadcasting in Spanish. But, oh well. But yeah, go ahead and send your questions along. If you do send them in Spanish, I'll do my best, but I'm not fluent in any way. So, now, I do want to talk about first of all, today is August 21st. Now, here at aois21, we've been lucky to have, there's been a lot of great partnerships we've been able to have over the past year and a half since we started up. And one of those partnerships is the book crowdfunding site PubSlush. Now, PubSlush announced last week that they'd be shutting their doors today. But they actually, that was stopped because yesterday they announced that the company was being acquired by, we can sure I have. They're acquired by Coborn Communications. So PubSlush is living on. So here you have a top site for crowdfunding your book. We've been using it for a number of pre-order campaigns. Currently, we have a pre-order campaign going. We started this week for the science fiction novella Hive First Contact by aois20 creative James D. King. Now, it's important when you're looking as a publishing company, but also as an author, the partnerships you make are important to your own success, the success of your book, and any future writing you do. Whether that's a partnership you make with an editor, a literary agent, a publishing company, bookstores, author organizations such as writers groups. Like here in Virginia, we have the Virginia Writers Club. Nearby Maryland, there's a Maryland Writers Association. And it's a collective of authors that are come together to share their stories, to network, and hopefully help people promote themselves. Now, let's see. Okay, looks like a couple people watching on Periscope, and that's a couple people are retweeting that we are broadcasting, so that's great. And nobody currently watching on YouTube, according to this. Now, of course, I'm an author myself, and I've been released my first book 5 years ago, so I have been experience in writing, marketing, editing, publishing. So any questions you have, be sure to send them along. Now, the thing about the partnerships is it's always risky when you make a partnership, whether it's a co-author to work on the title or the different companies that are out there. Because in the case of what happened with PubSlush, they were ready to go away, and which was unfortunate because not only were we planning on starting a pre-order campaign with them this week, but we were also gearing up for a full crowdfunding campaign in 2016 for the fantasy novel The Will of the Magi, which, if you're a listener to our podcast series, The Publish Me, which I host along with author Paul Dickinson Russell, see that the crowdfunding campaign would ultimately help fund the full editing and print and publication costs of that book. But so at first, prior to the news on Thursday that PubSlush would live, we were suddenly scrambling because do we revert back to the main crowdfunding sites, Kickstarter or Indiegogo, or then also look at some of the other options? There's Inkshares, which just announced a partnership with Nerdist Industries, and there's another one as well. Trying. Hold on, let me just trying to find it. Let's see. The other one that I heard about is called Pentian, but neither seem to have the same partnership opportunities. Excuse me, that PubSlush was offering. Now, I do have one question that came in earlier today from author James T. King, one of our creatives here at aois21. He he had read a story recently in the New York Times. In fact, I think it might have been in today's New York Times. But he asked the question on our Facebook page. Let me get the exact wording here. Oh, I'm sorry, not the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal. According to a recent article in the Wall Street Journal, 65% of adults have smartphones. The same article states that ebook reading on smartphones has risen substantially in the recent past. Will this cause any changes in the way ebooks are formatted? Now, first of all, I mean, this obviously there is a trend that's been going for a while. I've had an iPhone for the past, let me think, I had only for the past 3 years. Yeah, because I had a 5 and then I upgraded to a 6. And before that, I had an iPod Touch, and I done a lot of reading on both interfaces. I read, ironically, I read Steve Jobs' The Biography by Walter Isaacson on my phone. I read I've read F. Scott Fitzgerald's story, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, on my iPod Touch. I think what else? There's been several books. I'm currently reading Stand on Zanzibar by John Brunner on my phone when I'm on the train ride in the evenings. So I'm not, that's just me personally, but I know a lot of people that, especially when you're on a metro in a major city like DC, you don't know if you want to pull out an iPad or a Kindle or your large e-reader that might draw attention when you can just pull out your phone and have the same opportunity. Now, as far as answering the question about changing the way ebooks are formatted, well, that's one of the great things about ebooks is you format them once and they are scalable. They are adaptable to every interface out there. So not only you bring up a page on an iPad, obviously it's a larger screen, you can get more words per page and you don't have to scroll as much. While on the smaller screen of an iPhone or a Android or even some of the older smartphones had the ability for you to be able to read things. Now, of course, that's if you're using the standard ebook formattings of either EPUB or Mobi, which is common for Amazon for Kindle devices and Kindle app on smartphones. Now, if you're using a PDF, obviously that's a static image where you'd have to zoom in and adjust it to be able to fit it. And so reading a PDF on the smaller screen of a smartphone doesn't work because it's not adaptable. So really, when we do our ebook formatting, we originally do the formatting for an iPad or a Kindle or Kobo device or Nook, and from there it adapts to whatever device you're working on. And we tend to go for the highest model, so it would be like the iPad, yes, but like the Kindle Fire or the Nook Color, I think is the highest level model. Not too sure. I don't actually know anybody on that. How did my stocks do in the market today? Well, we are not a publicly traded company, so we don't actually have stocks. We are a limited liability company. As far as my personal stock that I own, I don't think I actually owned any stock currently. So yes, the troubles in the U.S. stock market really did have an effect on me. But thank you for asking. But getting back to Jim King's question about ebook formatting, you format them once and it adapts to whatever system you're using. So it's really not an issue. Hold on. Okay. Sorry about that. There. Suddenly, for some reason, I had a couple different versions of the YouTube interface open up, and just wanted to make sure that for those watching on YouTube, there weren't any technical difficulties. Now, let's see. All right. Quick check. No questions coming in on Twitter currently. And Jim, if you're watching, thank you for asking. I'm sure you'll probably watch this. If you're not watching now, you'll watch it on the replay because after this is done at 9:30, actually we'll go a little bit over since it started a little bit late due to some technical difficulty. This will be on our YouTube channel, the youtube.com/aois21pub. So you can watch it later and see any other questions that came in. And of course, even if no questions really come in, I do try to talk about something of substance every time. Like this time, I'm starting off with a little bit about partnerships. And let me just check around to make sure. No questions on Facebook beyond Jim's. And no questions on Tumblr. Okay. So it is August. There aren't a lot of major book events right now, but there will be starting again in a couple weeks. The National Book Festival is coming up Labor Day weekend here in Washington, D.C. It'll be at the Washington Convention Center. I believe it's one day, September 5th. Yeah, but AS21 won't be in attendance because they do not have an exhibitor set up. But it is pretty much the first big event of the fall, even though Labor Day isn't fall yet. Typically, it usually was towards the end of the month, but they moved it up this year. But other events coming up are going to build from there. Of course, you'll have on-campus events at all the major universities in the DC area and pretty much throughout the country. And more around the DC area, there's the big end of September, beginning into the beginning of October, you have the Fall for the Book Festival at primarily on the campus at George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia. You have the DC Author Fest at the MLK Memorial Library in Washington, D.C. on October 24th. We will be in attendance there with poet Bianca Palmisano. We originally were going to be there with not novelist, nonfiction writer Eileen Vega, but unfortunately she can't make it that weekend. So Bianca is a DC resident, so you have to be a DC resident in order to be spotlit there. So Bianca will be subbing in for Eileen. There's the same day. There's another literary festival going on the campus of Frostburg State University in Cumberland, Maryland. Or no, Frostburg, Maryland. I'm sorry, the other side of Cumberland, Maryland, from where we are. So, bit of a drive from here, but it is the Western Maryland Independent Literature Festival, and it's largely a collection of independent publishing houses and presses like we are. So we'll be there, and I'll probably be taking part in a couple panels and have a table set up along with a lot of other publishers. So if you're in Western Maryland, Southwestern Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Eastern Ohio, or Northern Virginia, like the Loudoun County area, it's not that far of a drive to come on up. I'll be there throughout the day, and then after that, I think events kind of slow down a little bit again through the winter. There, of course, always check out local libraries. They always try to have events, definitely, especially during the school year. And if you're an author, though, I've said on past webcasts, I've talked about working with not only local bookstores, but also working with libraries to try to set up events. Now that colleges are back in session, the college lit departments are an excellent place to look into about setting up events, especially if you're an alumni. So, if you finished your book, if you've self-published it or you published it with an independent press, feel free to call up the literature department at your alma mater and see if they will host you for something, maybe during alumni weekend or at any other time during the school year. And sometimes those events, you don't want to go through the bookstore specifically to do a book signing, because the bookstores primarily just want people that can guarantee sales. But if you go through a literature department, they're more willing to promote an author because they're there obviously for the higher level, higher level respect of the literature itself. And I have to say, when I was in college, I went to a fair amount of those type of events purely because sometimes either it was course credit to an assignment from a class, or there was nothing better to do at the time. So if you have an event and if you have the opportunity, being an alumni, or you've written a book that might be very apropos for that university audience, you may get a good amount of people showing up. And I say a good amount of people, that could be I'm saying like 15 to 20. Now, it'd be nice to get more than that, because the larger the audience you get, the better chance that people are going to buy your book. But sometimes just getting people to come out and hear you do a reading, to hear you talk about your book and your writing style and what you're passionate about, they may not buy your book that day, but it may lead to either sales or strong word of mouth farther down the line. And especially if you have a Goodreads or an author's info account, then people can reach out to you. And on Goodreads, you now have the opportunity for someone to ask you questions about things. And of course, a lot of authors are on Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, LinkedIn. So a lot of places you can reach out to authors. So Let's see, I'm just checking and see any other. Nothing more currently in Twitter. Now, once again, if you have any questions, tweet at aois21 or with the hashtag AskAois21. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/aois21. Our website is aois21.com. You notice a system going here. You know, we like our name and we're kind of trying to use it everywhere. Let's see. No questions on LinkedIn. Yes, we actually use LinkedIn. We've actually found a lot of success with connecting with people, authors, and supporters. So, and yes, I know they send us a lot of emails too. And checking Facebook now. And no other questions in. So. All right, so the time is now 9:28. And so we've been going for about, get the official count, I have 24 minutes. And YouTube is not showing me a clock. That's not nice of them. Now I know we had trouble last month where someone tried to send questions, but I didn't get it until after the episode was done, which is very disappointing. You know, you try to have a Q&A, and for some reason the window didn't show up on my. The window was open, but none of the question didn't pop up. But last month I was talking about crowdfunding, since it was the end. We had just finished our Kickstarter campaign to raise money to fund the second aois21 annual, our literary magazine. And the question was asked about marketing of a crowdfunding. And of course, the best marketing of a crowdfunding is just word of mouth, working your own personal network, and everything. Otherwise, it's got to be a project that really catches the people's wonder and attention. Now, unfortunately, that isn't always true of any book market crowdfunding campaigns. Now, since we're almost finished up, it is August. This is our submission period for the aois21 Annual Literary Magazine. We every year this will be the second one, so we're aiming for every year from now on. We have open submissions in August. We're looking for poetry, short stories, essays, excerpts, photography, art, and even comics. Visit aois21.com/annual and see the submission guidelines there. Key thing is we're looking for original work. If you have your own original work and you want to submit it, feel free. Please don't try to submit anyone else's work. We do double check that. And the key thing is also, with it being original work, it can't have been published elsewhere. So if you want to submit a short story that you put on your blog online, that it's already been published there. So it just, in order to balance correctly the rights and copyright, everything, we request that it has to be original work. But photography, art, comics, that's all kinds of opportunities. The submission period closes in 10 days, August 31st. After that, we're going to start gathering up everything we have. We have our submission review board that's going to go through everything that's been sent to us. We've got the style guide almost complete for this year. Had some changes because we decided from last year, we decided to shrink the dimensions of the annual. Last year, we did a full-size 8.5 by 11 magazine. This year, we're going to shrink down to a more literary journal size 7 by 10. And we're also doing the plans of this uh, of finalizing all of the release details. As of right now, the magazine will be done October 1st. That's the release date. We don't have the exact details of the release party or release event, but we are planning on taking part in the Fall for the Book Festival here in Fairfax, Virginia. And although the details aren't official yet, we are hoping to have some sort of event tied into the festival, whether it be at our table at the if we, um, small press fair on Saturday, October 3rd, or at a local bookstore that's tied to the festival. We'll be able to update you with the details. Either if you watch this webcast in September, or you can listen to our main podcast series, Publish Me Podcast, which I host with author Paul Dickinson Russell on the 7th of each month. You can check out our website, aois21.com, or the news.aois21.com. Sign up for our weekly email, the AOIS21 report, which includes big news about releases, first announcements of cover designs, and also special discounts from time to time. You can sign up from that on our homepage, or on our Facebook page, or even we have a link on Twitter if you want to sign up for it there. It only comes out once a week, so we don't try not to fill up your email box too much. I imagine it's already gets pretty bursting already. All right, so I have a 9:33. My throat's getting a little bit parched. Maybe it's because I'm wearing a necktie. So thank you very much for those who watched on Periscope and on YouTube. And of course, this will continue to be up on Periscope for the next 24 hours. And on YouTube, it'll be up forever. As far as I know, unless somebody finds a way to delete everything off of YouTube, it's not going anywhere. So thank you for those that watched. Thank you to Jim King for sending in a question. Thank you for anyone else who will react or send in questions in the future. And for aois21 Publishing, I am Keith F. Shovlin, Publisher and Chief Creative. I want to thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next month. Remember, aois21 Publishing, what do you want your book to be?